And now, an 8th special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. The art of sculpting takes shape outdoors.
It's an extremely painful art form. It hurts.
We rethink the art of war.
These helmets, very sculptural helmets, very recognizable, may not seem that utilitarian, but they're really important.
Sounds of the past delight modern audiences.
To me, that's art, is creating something that changes the way that people look at the world.
And a museum takes on the big issues through the language of art.
Does that make us more invested in the health of our air and the health of our environment?
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. In our first segment, we walk the warm shores of Daytona Beach, Florida, the playground and studio of a world-renowned sand sculptor. For more than 3 decades, this Florida artist has been shaping the shores around her into monumental works of art. Coming up, she reflects on the medium that has had an enormous impact on both her professional and personal life.
In '81, I came to Daytona, and I saw a man doing sand sculptures all the time. And he and I ended up working at the same place. We became very good friends. And eventually, he became my husband, but I learned from him. Mark was one of the first professional sand sculptors in the United States. He started in the late '60s. He was more prone to doing people, and I like animals a little better, and, motorcycles and architecture lately. I like that. So it's strange what you find out that you do like. For 30 years, I've been doing mostly soft sand. So it has more of an amateur look to it because you can't make it stand up tall. You have to use illusion to make things look as if they're standing free. And I love soft sand. For some things, I really love soft sand. Although, having worked now with compaction and tools, I've taken that, added it to the soft sand and changed it a little bit to where it's kind of a combination of both. It's a challenge because every sand is different. Every sand behaves differently. I mean, even sand that you might walk up and go, oh, I know this sand. Then you start working with it and it doesn't do the same thing. So it's that constant challenge. It's constantly trying, especially in soft sand, to find what gravity will allow. Mostly people watch when you're working, and it's horrible sometimes. Oh, because you figure an artist normally is hidden away. All of their mistakes can be dealt with privately. But you're just out there, whatever you're doing. And if you're doing it wrong, they're watching. But it's something about, you get right down to the level of the sand with your mind, and it's fascinating. It pulls you in. You can bring your imagination out into the world with sand. You can just create whatever you want. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'll just be sitting somewhere or something, and I kind of see the whole sculpture. All of a sudden, boom, there it is, Then I might work on it in my mind. Well, I'll change this or add that. And you're always striving to make it better. It's never finished. And you're endlessly learning, endlessly. And I've done it 30 years now. In this country, we have about 40 professional sand sculptors. Worldwide, probably 300, because it's an extremely painful art form. It hurts. Your body hurts a lot, but it's worth it. You just have to keep doing it and keep after it. It takes a special kind of person to go through that pain and practice and practice and get to the point where they can create something beautiful. They go from tabletop, I do a lot of tabletop sculptures, miniatures, up to, in Belgium we did, I think I had a 40-foot octopus and a 250-foot dragon. And these are just massive projects. If you see it on television, if you see it in photographs or on the internet, it gives you no sense of the volume, and you just can never really see enough until you're a side of one, life size.
Samurai warrior culture has been celebrated and memorialized in books and films for decades. Now, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston gives us a look at what the artistry of Japan's elite military brought to the battlefield.
This is the sensation of the samurai, 7 centuries of Japan's military elite. This is the way of the warrior, the vestments of valor, an homage to honor.
Samurai are the members of the military. They are in attendance to governors, who then are in turn under a shogun or a military ruler, who in turn is underneath the emperor.
East meets West in the Museum of Fine Arts show Samurai, which considers the art of Japanese war in weaponry and armor. They are suits of significance, says MFA Japanese art curator Anne Nishimura Morse.
In Japanese combat, it's really very important that warriors of certain status fight warriors of status. These helmets, very sculptural helmets, very recognizable, may not seem that utilitarian, but they're really important for declaring the status of the person, the individuality of the warrior.
The armor is intricately layered and was crafted by entire teams to evoke samurai spirituality, folklore, and nature.
Metal workers doing the metal parts, of course, they're lacquer artists, they're textile artists, and all of these are then assembled together to create one suit of armor. What's wonderful about them also was when they're not in use, they collapse completely. So they're very portable as well.
Remarkably, this is all the collection of one man and his family. He is Gabriel Barbier Mueller, a Swiss-born real estate developer based in Texas and descended from generations of collectors of anything but samurai.
What attracted me was a sculptural form. Just the object, the form, and the endless creativity that those artists that assembled those helmets.
In immersing himself in the samurai, Barbier Mueller finds, of all things, serenity.
I don't have to take tranquilizers and pills to calm myself down from the business world because I have this peaceful art to look at. It's almost like a religious experience.
Fitting, the collector says, given the prevailing philosophy of the samurai.
The samurai has that code, the way of the warrior, also known as the Bushido, whose tenets basically govern his life. His life is not to fight, it's to be ready to fight, but most importantly, to be constantly serving.
But when they fought, this show gives you a sense of the samurai's ferocity, menacing symbols, masks, and helmets. Even the horses were fierce.
They were known for the horsemanship. They were known for having fabulous horses. Just knowing that these mounted warriors were coming from the east would strike fear in people because they knew how well trained they were and what fine steeds they had.
This is a show about majesty, in war and peace, in ceremony and combat.
Baroque music may have its roots in the 17th century, but the Baroque Chamber Orchestra of Colorado is firmly planted in the present. These musicians, while keeping true to tradition, are unmistakably current. We sat down with some of the orchestra members and learned what makes them tick.
Functions in a Baroque ensemble is more like being the lead guitarist in a band. The harpsichord and the cello and sometimes the guitar or lute, or they sort of create the chords and a rhythm, and you get to solo. Sometimes people think of Baroque music as a certain kind of thing, like Vivaldi or Handel, and I love that music, but it's also, there's a different way that the instruments function, and there's a different way that the ensembles function, and that's what really drew me to it.
I consider it a modern art form, that what we do. It's really mostly about emotion and about conveying emotions, and the performer's job, actually, in Baroque times, was to move the audience to feel something. There's really an element of improvisation in this music. The performer would not just play something that was on the page. In fact, the composer would write very minimal things on the page and would expect the performer to just take it and make it their own.
We know that if it says solo ad libitum, violinists were very good at making things up. So this is what I do there. Something like this. It changes every night. We call what we do performance practice, which means that when we play the music of a time period, we try to reenact that as closely as possible in terms of our equipment.
Every harpsichord is different. You actually have 3 sets of strings on this instrument, and the bottom keyboard plays 2 of those strings, and the top another set of strings. So you can play any of those by itself, or you can play them in different combinations. A couple things drew me to the harpsichord. It's really the music that led me there. So my love of Bach and my love of music from that period. But I have to admit also there's the element of novelty and doing something different. There are lots of keyboard players out there and a lot of piano players, but very few harpsichordists. So it's kind of a matter of pride that I'm one of a select few that play this instrument.
Sometimes I feel like I'm really creating something that speaks to people, and to me that's art, is creating something that changes the way that people look at the world.
In our final segment, we stop by Philadelphia's Chemical Heritage Foundation, where artists have been invited to respond to the most severe environmental problems of our day. And while wrestling with these issues may seem inherently political, the featured creators have elected to use art, not rhetoric, to address them. Here's a look.
In about 2000, I started making photographs seriously as art forms. Always used a camera because the nature of my work is the landscape, and I have to experience it. Monumental geological formations is what turns me on. Why? Well, I grew up in Brooklyn. So, what does a young, girl from Brooklyn want to see? She doesn't want to see asphalt. And being a visual person, I really got bitten by nature. Looking at nature, experiencing it in any way I could. Since about 2006, I have another purpose, and that is to communicate some real issues about climate change. Climate change was in the air, global warming was in the air, and it must have been in the back of my mind. So I started revisiting all these images I used 30 years ago, and that got me on this path to think about climate change. I'm trying to straddle issues of data with issues of aesthetics. As a painter, I don't want to give that up. I'm not going to start going on the lecture circuit, and just show graphs and say, oh, look, there's the hockey stick, it's been like this and now it's like that. That's not going to do it. It has to be through my language as an artist. So I think what I mean by purpose is I have a new purpose for making my work. It's really also about examining, communicating, and telling the story in any way I can figure out how to do it.
Climate change was something often that was thought of as happening in a polar region. Elizabeth McDonnell and I did a lot of research. We had known of Diane's paintings of Arctic regions and then said, we want this show to have a local theme. I wonder what she has in that way. Taking the facts of the chemical history of a region and combining it with a first-person point of view, I think creates a kind of empathy in the viewer that says, oh, wow, maybe I should care about this. Chemical Heritage Foundation is a museum, library, and center for scholars. We have a permanent collection of artifacts about the history of science, primarily the history of chemistry. We have a changing exhibits gallery, which is the gallery in which sensing changes now. How do I experience environmental change? Say, in some ways that are even joyful, right? Like smelling a plant. Suddenly, what's usually under your feet is at eye level. It's a kind of insect's eye view of the world. I'm no longer walking on the ground, but I am looking at it the way a worm would be crawling through it at that level. And a number of the works in this show offer a change of perspective. In Diane Burko's photographs, she is in a helicopter taking photographs of Glacier National Park, taking these photos of where glaciers are receding. The artists in this exhibit are making work about short-term as well as long-term environmental change. So that's everything from drought or extreme weather that's part of climate change to your daily rainfall. Stacey Levy's Calendar of Rain is a work that includes 13 months of rain bottles. Each day, we have been taking a bottle marked with the date of that day, and we put it outside our building and collect either air or rain, whatever may come that day. There's something almost sacred about bottling this water and staring at it. I mean, it's a simple act in a way. One of the artists, Roderick Coover, is interested in and concerned about the toxicity levels in our watershed in the Delaware estuary. And so he looked at maps of exactly what kind of chemicals are at various locations. If the water is polluted, what's in the flood? When the waters rise, what happens?
Toxicity is a documentary film that combines clips and text to make a movie, so that every time you see the movie, it's different. The word for it is a database film. There are several lighthouses in this film. Of course, watching it once or twice, you might not see all the clips because it keeps offering variations. What's also unusual about Toxicity is that it's a very wide film because it's set across 3 screens instead of just 1. And those 3 screens allow one to mix and match images to create unusual juxtapositions and to compare different sites.
And the walls did crack, and the water seeped through. And the water had a strange smell to it. It got worse and worse over time. There was a lot of flooding and a lot of mopping.
There is also a web resource called Chemical Map. And the Chemical Map lists over 200 sites of petrochemical production, brownfields, and EPA cleanup sites. Sort of the database out of which I drew the inspirations for the creative projects. I discovered that my childhood home in England was also likely to be flooded and erased by rising seawaters. And I was thinking at the time about what people lost during Hurricane Sandy. It made me think about the loss not just of the structures, but of personal memories, of your histories, the place you grew up. It's not just about scientific information. It's not just about data of pollution, contamination, changes in the landscape, but it's also the uprooting of people's lives and the changing of a landscape from a place we knew and spent our lives into something else, something we don't really quite know yet.
It's wonderful to be able to see something that's invisible and surrounds us all the time, and it's actually having an impact on us because these particulates are getting lodged in our lungs and in our hearts, and they could have negative health impacts. I'm presenting a large-scale public art projection piece called Particle Falls. It represents real-time particulate pollution as a transforming waterfall. We have a large-scale projection on the side of the Wilma Theater. It's a computer-generated waterfall that's cascading down the wall, and that waterfall transforms into a fireball dependent on the real-time particulate pollution that we detect. The instrument that we're using is called a nephelometer, and it sucks in air particles and then uses a laser to determine, laser scattering to determine the density of those particles at any one time. I'm not so interested in creating a bar graph or a very specific kind of graph that you can read, but I'm interested in creating an emotional reaction. That's why Particle Falls is interesting to me, because it's so large scale and it has such an impact on people when they see it.
Our city monitors air through the air management services. How many of us are attentive to that, know that, appreciate it? Can we work with an artist who cares about this and take the act of air monitoring and make it 30 feet high on a public building? Does that make us more invested in the health of our air and the health of our environment? That's, I think, where you get from excitement to perhaps responsibility and then action. The artist cannot do all of the steps in that process for us, but they can give us something compelling to experience to bring us there.
For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you.